Hello, welcome to the Record Celtic podcast. My name is Daniel Corn. I'm delighted to be joined by Record Sports' Michael Gannon. Nick, how's things?
Not bad. How are we?
I'm good, thanks. I've enjoyed the international break with Scotland and that. Obviously a lot brighter than previous international breaks, but I'm happy club football's back.
Well, it's quite nice to have an international break where there's not that much stress on the national team. We're not sitting kind of panicking and chewing our fingernails down to the knuckles.
That's true.
So that was quite a pleasant experience. But I must admit, I'm quite glad that the proper football's back this weekend. And it's going to be a really hectic spell right up to the new year. And I quite like that. Do you know what I mean? Get the teeth into it for the next kind of 4 to 6 weeks. Kind of bring it on. It's a good period coming up.
So I think it's the last international break till March? A good 4 months?
Yeah, I don't think. I must admit, the international calendar is something that I think is a bit. I mean, I know it drives club managers up the pole. I remember I asked Brendan Rodgers about it a few weeks ago. Well, all right, I maybe with the fishing rod out and I was dangling at the water. And I said, "What do you think of the international calendar?" And he just kind of smiled. Like, next, move on. Because I think this is September, October, November. All interruptions to the season. I mean, it's obviously Celtic's last game. They won comfortably and they're looking to keep that momentum going. It's been broken up again. You've had players injured on international duty in the past. I mean, Abada gets injured away in training with Israel. It's a fraught kind of fortnight for club managers, and it's a kind of frustrating period because you don't really get the first part of the season. I think it's a bit kind of out of kilter. I mean, you don't have any. You get breaks in June as well, and players need a rest, and it's. I just think it needs something looked at. I mean, I like international football; it's got a big place in the game. But I think, especially that period from August to December, when you get Champions League, Europa League campaigns up and running, League Cups and all that stuff, and then you chuck in 3 international get-togethers in there as well. It's a heavy workload for that period of time. When we get to the early part of the year, January, February, March, April, we start to get a bit. The weather starts getting better. We start to get less football. No. So I think it's something that might. I mean, I know clubs won't want international breaks in April and all that stuff when the leagues are getting settled. So that's another tricky one. Listen. Good luck to anyone trying to sort it out because they haven't managed it yet. So who knows? Maybe one day they'll figure a way to fit it all in without too much disruption.
And of course, we're back now. Obviously, you mentioned the kind of frantic period that will be ahead for Celtic. Obviously, starts with Motherwell this weekend, kind of culminates with Rangers at the end of December. We'll come to that in a wee minute, but obviously, with Celtic having not played in almost 2 weeks, the big talking point this week has been the club's AGM, which is always a fun outing. I went last year. I know you didn't go this year, but you're there normally most years. For fans listening, what is it like? Can you give us a wee snapshot into AGM day at Celtic?
Yeah, I think I've been most years up to this year. I meant to make it yesterday, but I've been most years. They're interesting. I think. Listen, there's a bit of me that thinks that Celtic have had it all their own way on the pitch for this last kind of decade plus. I mean, it's been. I'm not saying it's been a canter, right, but it's been no far off it, right? They've hoovered up trophies left, right, and centre. They've been completely dominant. I mean, 5 trebles in 7 years. I don't know. Sometimes maybe it means that there's not really that much to talk about on the pitch with Celtic, really. So I think people maybe find other things to get upset about sometimes. And the Celtic AGM tends to be you get the first period, which is the kind of dull kind of thing. You get the whole kind of happy clap and everything's great. Look how wonderful we all are. And you vote all the guys back in again. There's a couple of hands that go up and say they don't want Dermot Desmond. And this year, there's no doubt it'll be Peter Lawley. A couple of hands going up saying they're voting against them. But by and large, that bit's pretty dull and kind of perfunctory. Then you get the Q&A. The Q&A is where the real kind of meat and bones is. And you get some really good, intelligent questions to the manager, to the board. And you get some pretty wacky ones as well. The joke is about the kind of the standard of the pies and all that stuff. The questions usually, I don't know if that happened yesterday. I think that was that one thing it wasn't. Didn't get the bingo card complete. There's the usual kind of. There's always a couple of little Snyders aimed across the city as well, and there's a section of the support and shareholders that aren't seem to want Rangers buried 6 feet under. I mean, just dominating them for 10 years isn't quite enough. It's like the old kind of Simpsons kind of gag, isn't it? But I think the horse is dead. You got it. But they're not content. They want them even more destroyed. I don't know. And you get the odd little kind of joke from the top table headed across the city as well. It's always goes down well with the punters. But by and large, I mean, there's a slight disconnect, I think, in some support between some sections of support and the board. I think that's clear. It's been clear for a long time, whether it was certain political figures on the board they didn't particularly like, whether it's the party they're involved with or their policies with another party. We've seen that over the years causing a problem. There's an issue over money where it's spent. This is the thing in Celtic, is the diamond shoes are too tight. They're arguing about not enough money spent because they've got too much money.
Yeah.
There's that aspect of it. But there is a wee bit of a feeling that maybe the board takes some of the fans for granted at times. And then there's this big disconnect in terms of a section of the sport. We also know the Green Brigade troubles in recent months, which has got, I'm not saying it's split the support, but it's definitely causing an issue between the board and certain sections of the sport. So there's plenty going on, none of it involving kicking a ball about the field, probably. But yeah.
Well, that was obviously yesterday. We might as well tackle it head on. The stuff about the Green Brigade was kind of brought up several times, as you can imagine. Some shareholders saying they want them banned completely. Others saying, kind of sticking up for them. Representative from the Celtic Trust was kind of backing them emphatically. It's a difficult one. I actually have sympathy for the Celtic board because I don't really know how you can handle it from here. I don't know what else they can really do. I mean, another fine yesterday relating to I think it was the Atletico Madrid game at home. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a really tough spot for the board,
I think so. It's a difficult one. Listen, they brought in this standing section. It's the first one in Britain, and it's been by and large a huge success. I think a lot of clubs in the country are envious of it, and I think a lot of clubs in England are looked at it and they're desperate to get involved as well. But it's come along with some baggage, and I think you've got to separate some of the details as well. In terms of the political stuff, I know that Celtic have been kind of embarrassed a wee bit by some of the political messaging and some of the stuff that goes on in there. Listen, personally, I can't understand why you want to use that as a platform for politics. We can go to George Square if you want to do that kind of stuff. I mean, I must admit, I think going to football and watching football is more than enough, I think, for somebody like myself. I don't particularly get it, but I also understand there's a right to do it. If they want to do it, fair enough. And I don't think, and if it's a legitimate political message, I don't think people can complain too much or they should get too uptight about that kind of thing, because it's everyone's right to do it. We've got free speech in this country. I know UEFA don't like it, but to be honest with you, UEFA can go and do one because they can't take any high ground on anything, to be honest with you. I mean, some of the behaviour at UEFA, they can't listen, forget it. I mean, they keep dishing out fines, right? It's a way of making money. It's a tax, basically, for them. Anytime a flares lit or a banner goes up, they collect money. So I'm not really prepared to take any lectures from UEFA about morals. But you've got to take that. So that part, I don't personally think it's much of a place for it. But if it's going to be there, then I think fair enough. Let them do that. That's fine, right? The other aspect is there's certain behaviours of slightly entitled behaviour, and I've seen it at away games. I've seen it at Parkhead. There is guys that are misbehaving, and I've seen it certainly at away games, trying to force their way through turnstiles and clogging up aisles, causing hassle. And I think that's the kind of thing. I mean, Celtic mentioned breaking into Parkhead to put up banners and all that stuff, forcing their way past stewards, and that kind of stuff isn't. Listen, it's supposed to be an environment you might be able to take your family to and all that stuff, and I don't think that. I think you've got to be careful. Listen, I'm wary of jumping on this kind of wagging my finger behaviour, right? Because I grew up in, I'm older than you, right? I grew up in the 80s, right? And going to the game in the 80s was a different ball game, right? And I'm not so much games that I grew up in Glasgow, and I remember getting warned, maybe late 80s, early 90s, if I was in town. I mean, teams like Aberdeen and Hibs had branches of casuals that you got there in Glasgow. You had to be careful. It was a war zone. So I don't think we're not throwing golf balls with nails in it anymore. So the behaviour in this grand scheme of things compared to the 70s, 80s, I think is different gravy now. These kids haven't got a look in compared to back then, thankfully. But I still think they have to be careful that football's changed. It's not that environment. It's not carryouts in the bags and all that stuff and throwing cans of beer and all that stuff. It's a family environment. People go with women and kids and all that stuff that are going to the game, and it's the environment. It's changed, and it's rightly changed. And I think we can't be going back to kind of people feeling intimidated going to the game of football, or staff feeling intimidated going to their work. I mean, guys, stewards on buttons getting threatened and abused and all that stuff. It can't happen. So I just think hopefully they resolve it. I mean, these guys do bring a good atmosphere, but they maybe need their wings clipped a wee bit, because I think what they need to do is need to self-police, because what's happening, I think, is that, see, the political stuff, they want to take that political high ground, as I say, fair enough, but that political high ground has been undermined by antisocial behaviour. So if you're going to have a banner saying about Israel, fine, but don't have guys turning up and storming turnstiles and drinking and causing hassle and abusing stewards and all that stuff, because it undermines it. So if you want to have that message, fine, take the high ground, but self-police and make sure the young team are behaving themselves. That's what I think. I mean, if they want to take the battle on about political stuff, they fight that all day, and I think they've got the right to do that. But you can't also have that and the misbehaviour around the sides, and then you bring into all that stuff, being the flares and all that stuff. I know there's an argument that pyros can be used safely and all that stuff, but you know what? See, until it's viewed as safely across the board, it's not allowed. So we need to chuck it, and all that kind of carry on. So yeah, I hope there's some kind of resolution. I don't know how it's going to come about, but I think there has to be a level of self-policing amongst fans. Like, if the young team are misbehaving, they need to clamp it, because it's undermining their stance.
See, just going back to what you were saying quickly about the kind of political messaging, I had this debate with a family member of mine who sits in that section quite a lot, and loves it and is right, is right into it and all that. And I was saying, look, like you kind of mentioned, I want to go to the football and I want to watch football. I don't really want to go and have a debate about politics, and I don't really. And he I think quite rightly countered with, but look, Celtic's a club that stands for something. We want, it's more than a football club. And I thought, right, okay, I respect that. But where I think a lot of fans have a problem is when the Green Brigade or whoever, they unfurl these banners, and it's as if they speak for the whole Celtic support. And then it gives people like, the Israel boss having a goal last week and stuff like that. And it just, I can see where the board's coming from. I don't know, it just leaves me uneasy when it's put across like it's the full Celtic support, if you know what I mean.
No, certainly not. And I remember a few years ago, the banner, the no bloodstained poppy banner at Remembrance Sunday, and I actually found that a wee bit distasteful as well, because there's guys across the country, and Celtic fans, by the way, who would have been the old boys section and all that stuff, who would have been fighting in wars and all that stuff, and lost pals and all that stuff, right. and that you can't. It's more nuanced than just right and wrong, black and white. And so, I mean, that would have been upsetting for a lot of the old boys, I think, at that point. There is definitely a section that's a large part of the support who are fed up with it and just want to go to the game and enjoy the football. But unfortunately, it's this kind of slightly unseemly civil war is getting in the way. And it's detracting from the kind of the football itself. I mean, there's a lot going on the pitch as well. So listen, you can't tell people what to think politically. I could do without some of the student politics, right enough. I mean, it's there's more nuance in the world than all that. But listen, that's what they want to do. Everyone's got, as I say, everyone's got entitled to say what they like. But I
think you said, I hope they get it sorted, because atmosphere-wise they're brilliant. They can really light up the stadium at times. So I really hope there is some kind of. I see a lot of stuff I don't get as well. I don't know what you think, right? See this culture now with the pyros and the tivos. What do they call them? Tivos? Tifos. See, I show my age, right? See all that stuff, right? I don't see the point yet. I don't get the pyro thing at all. I don't
even get any of it. I don't get the Tivo stuff either. Do you know what it is? It's this Instagram generation, right? Because you're in that section holding a big flare, right, or holding a Tivo, right? You're not seeing it, right? So who's it for? It's for Instagram, right? It's just another one of this social media world, right? Look at us. Look at the colour and all that stuff. You can't even see it at the game. These peace. Go to the game and sing a sing-song, watch your football.
I'm with you with the pyros.
Who's it for? Who's it actually for? It's for the internet. It's for social media. It's for Instagram or TikToks and all that. Look at us. By the way, it's not just Celtic. All in the whole world, right? All these going Insta folk want to put big displays up and all that stuff. I mean, has there ever been a football player watching the pitch and sees 5,000 bits of tinfoil and went, "Oh, we're in trouble today, boys. We're in trouble. They'll get 5,000 bits of tinfoil. Give me a break." I mean, smoke bombs here. How are we going to defend a corner kick for a smoke bomb? Give me a break. Instagram nonsense.
Well, elsewhere at the Celtic AGM,
an old man ranting in the sky here.
Victor Meldrew in this week's Celtic podcast.
Maybe I'm just too old for this kind of stuff. It's not for me, but I can't bother it.
Well, elsewhere, I mean, let's obviously move back onto the football a wee bit. Brendan Rodgers was obviously asked a lot about the January transfer plans. But it was heartening to hear him say that A, none of the signs will be pushed to him. He makes the final decision. And B, Mike Nicholson saying there will be investment in January. I think that's it, A and B, sorry. So it would appear that there's players incoming in the winter transfer window. Big talk of a striker, which I'd have thought, must be really high on the agenda given the Asia Cup with Kyogo.
It's only 3 games.
Is it only 3 games?
Well, potentially. That's if these teams get to the latter stages, which they might do. But they're only going to miss it. Well, maybe 4 because they might get another game at the end of it.
And then who'd you play through the middle? Who would you? So if O's away, Kyogo's away, I don't know. Would you do a makeshift? I don't know.
It is a problem in that short period. But you're not going to go and spend £9 million on a striker for 4 games when you've got Kyogo, who's the best player, one of the best players in the country, and O, who you think is going to be a big prospect. There's no point in bumping him to the third choice. So they bring in somebody on loan, maybe. Loan strikers in January, very, very difficult. You're not going to get a loan striker that's anywhere in any form. Because strikers are gold dust at best times. You're going to get a guy on loan who's not played much. So it's a tricky one. I think it's an awkward one. There will be signings in January. They'll bring in 2 or 3. There'll be a lot going out. I think that's clear from what Brendan Rodgers is saying. There'll be a lot leaving. A lot of these fringe. I think the squad's about 31, 32, which is too bloated. And it's too bloated with guys that are never going to get a game. So there'll be a lot. I think there'll be a few guys on their way. And 2 or 3 will come in. Striker, yeah, but it's awkward. Do you go and spend £3 or £4 or £5 million on a striker that's going to be Kyogo's backup and then jump ahead of O in the queue? I don't know. To play 3 or 4 games. I'm not entirely sure. It's a tricky one for them. I mean, you say go and get a relatively cheap striker, but where do you get a cheap striker that's going to do the job? I mean, people chuck at names like Lawrence Shankland. Lawrence Shankland costs £3 or £4 million.
Easy, yeah.
I mean, and is Lawrence Shankland going to come and play 3 or 4 games, then in the bench for the rest of the season? I mean, he's got the Euros coming up in the summer. Yeah, I thought so. It's an awkward. Strikers are always a tricky market. It's a really difficult market to get a striker. Everybody wants a striker. It's really go. I want a backup striker that can score 15 goals a season. Good luck. That's the golden ticket.
No. That's Giakoumakis if only he'd stayed.
Well, I think that was a mistake. I think that was a mistake selling him, but he's gone now, so we don't know what they can do about it. But I think that was a slight mistake.
I think another kind of striker forward that was mentioned at the AGM yesterday was Jota. He was brought up a couple of times by shareholders, and one asking Brendan Rodgers any chance of bringing him back on loan, given how his move to Saudi's been, well, bizarre to say the least, what's happened out there. But Brendan Rodgers, I don't know what you think, kind of struck me as a wee bit kind of mischievously saying it'll ask Mike Nicholson. I don't know if that means it's seriously on the cards, if there's a chance of it, or if he was maybe playing to the galleries a wee bit.
A bit of all that stuff, yeah. I mean, listen, if an option came up to get him back in, I'm sure he would absolutely jump at the chance. How that comes about when he's on that kind of wage deal out there, I have no idea.
What was he making? $200,000 or something like that a week?
So, I mean, who knows? That's the kind of figure that we've been told that's in that ballpark, $180,000 a week or something ridiculous. I can only think the move's not really worked out. It hasn't worked out for him at all. I can understand why he took the move, because that kind of money, it's life changing for everybody, for generational life changing. I don't know if he gets to a situation where maybe they buy him out for not maybe not the whole contract. They may give him a big wedge of money. There's £5 million. Might shake his hand. At that point, he can go where he likes it. But it actually wouldn't surprise me to see him back in a Celtic shirt. I think there's a lot of hoops that need to be jumped through to get to that stage, and I accept that it's unlikely, but there's a bit of me thinking, I don't know, Especially after his experience out there. I mean, going there, not getting a game, his appearance in front of 800 fans and all that stuff. All right, you can sit in your palace, what is it, the old Shakespearean line? We all laugh at gilded butterflies and all that. But I don't know. I think it's hard. It's a difficult one. I maybe not see it straight away, but at some point I wouldn't be surprised to see him back.
I was going to say as well, I can kind of see it. I feel like there'll obviously be other clubs, say he comes available, there'll be other clubs in there as well. But I definitely, and again, I know I sound dead naive, but I do think he had a bond with Celtic. I do think he liked being here. I do think he felt an affiliation with the fans.
He's another one who liked his Instagram, didn't he?
Exactly.
Takes them at Glasgow, his own photographer and all that stuff.
I mean, it would be an amazing bit of business if Celtic could sell him for that money and get him back in loan. That would be remarkable, but who knows? I guess. Is there anyone else just in January? You think? Is there anyone screaming out really? Celtic need to improve.
It's a hard window to build. It's a hard window to build for the future, isn't it? I still think Celtic could probably do with strengthening the full-back areas. But these are all big. I mean, I don't think in the short term I think they're okay and they could do it. But they could add another attacker, maybe another striker at some point. I think another central midfield player, a bit of muscle. Maybe I've been saying that for a while. Wouldn't go amiss. I still think the centre half issues not quite resolved yet. I mean, they've brought in Lager, Bielka, and the Rocky. As yet, two of them seem to have gone off a cliff, back fit, and no sign of them in recent weeks, which suggests that maybe that's not working out. Obviously, Liam Scales has been a revelation in there, and he's holding that jersey down. But I still think, Kobayashi will be away in January somewhere, maybe on loan if he can get a permanent deal. Stephen Welsh in there, who's a good lad to have his backup, especially with a homegrown player with the European list and all that stuff. But I still think finding out what the long-term future is for Lager, Bielka and Rocky, if it's not going to be working, maybe have a look at that, and centre half has to be looked at again. I don't know. I don't think it's an immediate problem. I've got a million of them now. They're all fit. Maybe plenty of options. But I'm thinking more long-term planning, i.e. European football next season. An ideal world, you start building in January for that. Although without the qualifiers, there's a slightly less panic about that situation, but building for the summer. In the olden days with the July qualifiers, you best having guys in January to get them bedded in for that period. I still think it would be beneficial, but it's not absolutely imperative now. So they don't need that much. It doesn't help having injury problems. Maida will be back. Abada, you think, coming back around about Christmas. Hatate, I think we're not going to see till February, March. So that's a big loss. So that's another area maybe they could look at. So yeah, there's issues in, say, the full-back positions. So there is. I think they'll be looking for 2 or 3. But I don't think it'll be 5 or 6 and all that stuff. But there'll be 5 or 6 going and maybe 2 or 3 coming in.
And at the weekend, Motherwell, as we said, back in the Premiership at home at Celtic Park. I think it's the Saturday game. And of course, next week, Lazio in the Olimpico in Rome. I know obviously you're not going next week. Have you been by any chance before to the
I was there in 2019, Neil Lennon season when they won the last minute.
What was that like? That must have been some night.
It was a great European night. It was one of those incredible European nights. Last minute winner in Olympic Stadium. Incredible amphitheatre. Fabulous city, obviously. That was a memorable one, right enough. The drama, the late goal, Olivier and Cham racing through. It's like slow motion, wasn't it? And scoring. The Celtic fans were locked in for about an hour after the game, and they were just singing their hearts out for an hour, solid. But no, that was one of the great European nights for Celtic. They're probably another one of them this week. I
was going to say fans would fight a village to get that result again on.
It's not the handoff for it. I don't think it's beyond them. I think it's been a tricky campaign for Celtic. They've been hampered by some injuries to key men, which was a problem at the start. Things have gone against them. They end up the other night, the last game in Madrid. Kind of falling apart a wee bit in the second half. you look at the guys in the pitch that were clearly not at that level yet and struggling, especially with 10 men. Going to 10 men was harsh, but he can still grind it and make it awkward with 10 men, but it didn't really do that. In the second half, they just kind of fell apart. I think they got a lot of plaudits for the first couple of games, rightly so. I thought they played some good stuff, unlucky not to get a couple of results. The backlash came against Atletico. I think that they want to, whether or not qualification or even third place is up for grabs, I'm doubting much these days, but I think they could do with getting some credibility back, get some points on the board, get some money in the bank for the points on the board, and use these games as a kind of learning experience for future, for these guys, younger players in the squad. But just getting a bit of credibility back as well. I don't think it's past them. The teams are out evenly matched at Parkhead. Lazio are a right good side, but they were quite evenly matched. I think Celtic let them off the hook a wee bit.
Lazio's about 10th in the league. They've only won 5 of the 12 league games. They're not having a great season. And you're right in saying they're obviously a quality team with quality players, but as you mentioned, at Celtic Park, there wasn't anything in it. When Palma scores that goal that was disallowed, it looked like Celtic had won it.
Well, the second half, Celtic were way in top, dominated the second half. But again, the naivety towards the end, a bit of quality, a bit of naivety cost them, and that's where Celtic's been punished this campaign. In key moments, have had a wee bit of kind of naivety that's really been damaging. I think the second half of Madrid maybe have to take that out of the equation. That was just a major malfunction at all levels. So they'll need to be at it 100% for the 90 odd minutes again. But they'll be competitive. They'll be in the game. They'll have chances. It's about keeping them out. That's the problem. They will create problems for opposition, and you fancy them even get a goal, but they need to be on it defensively, which has been their downfall.
Well, I think it'll be a belter. Whatever happens, it certainly won't be boring. Mick, I think that more or less brings us to the end of this week's Record Celtic podcast.
Take my pictures for Instagram.
I'll get you on Instagram.
Grumpy old man ranting here.
Mick, as always, it's a pleasure, and thanks very much for listening.